Hand of God on Netflix. The Paolo Sorrentino film, which, if you've been following our podcast, you know that we're fans of his from the Young Pope and the New Pope. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is, I think, kind of what I was expecting in a sense from him. I mean, not necessarily like the story, but I think the visual style feels very familiar in a lot of ways. I think the humor and the way that he tells the story through building the sense of family and community, um, of just like these long scenes of people talking and being together. Um, I really enjoyed the movie. I think there's some parts that didn't totally work for me, and it feels like maybe not Sorrentino's best stuff, but this is still something that's really good. And it was nominated for the Golden Lion. It didn't win at Venice, but it did win the Grand Jury Prize and a few others. So probably a film that will get some recognition, or at least be in the conversation as we're moving forward. Did you enjoy Hand of God, Dave?
I did enjoy. I didn't love the film. I think I liked the first half of it more than the second half, but
Yeah.
it has a lot of the stuff you'd expect from him. There's a real sense of style, real clear uh, direction here in 1980s Naples. Um, I'm not super well versed in his film work. Obviously, he did win the Best International Film Oscar earlier in the decade uh, for his home country of Italy. Which actually I found out that was the only time an Italian film was even nominated for Best International Film in the 21st century. That was the only one. They have plenty of wins in that category, but not in a long time. And obviously, they are hoping to continue that. This is the official submission for Italy, and we'll get those shortlists soon. I'm sure it's going to be on. Uh, and yeah, I liked it. I think the kind of continuing theme of Diego Maradona kind of
Yeah.
dominating uh, the life here of everyone in Naples, young Fabietto,
Mhm.
that this kind of being like what's driving his motivations as he's doing other things we associate with a coming of age tale, right? And this is supposed to be like semi autobiographical on Sorrentino's part, growing up in the '80s. But yeah, it was cool. I thought the best stuff's definitely everything with the family. I think
Yeah.
specifically the first half when everyone's like together, like that the big extended family scene when they're all like on like vacation, like down the countryside, in the water and stuff, and just the way they bust each other's balls, and everyone feels really colored in, really like finely written, even if most of those family characters, they're ancillary characters, they don't have a whole lot to do, but they all feel like real presence. And I think that's kind of the most memorable stuff. Once the movie starts to, I think, progress further along, I think I was just a little less interested in it because it got a little more like, okay, here's the beats to expect from a coming of age story. But I think it's still pretty high level, and yeah, again, like the writing in the first half impressed me with everything with the family.
Yeah, I agree. I think that scene where they're having that dinner and they're or that like lunch outside and they're all together, and then the cousin shows up with the new boyfriend who's like
Hmm.
70 years old and has the voice thing out for his neck. And
Yes,
everything with that whole scene is just really really electric. And I just love them like busting each other's balls, and you feel like you get like 50 or 60 years of family context all within like a 15-minute scene, just
right.
really really expertly done. um I agree. I think the second half feels a bit more meandering, but I think that actually is probably intentional, as Fabietto experiences a severe loss. I guess we'll spoil if you haven't watched. Check back with this, but when Fabietto's parents both die, I think you're supposed to kind of feel this like listlessness, and you even kind of see it in some of the dialogue, like when he talks to his brother about, we're not rich. What are we gonna like do with the house? Like, how are we going to live moving forward? And the brother's like, I just don't want to think about that. I just want to be, I just want to be happy for a little while. It really kind of shows that he's like this young kid who all of a sudden has to like figure out all this adult stuff. And um, yeah, I mean, some of it didn't work. Like the scene with the Baronessa, I was like, this is a little drawn out, and I don't know if it feels totally like necessary to like have like the detail of it that they do. But I think if you know, obviously, if you know any of Sorrentino's work, even if you just tuned into like the young pope or the new pope, this is kind of the direction he goes in, is like these spiritual awakenings, and like kind of always like underlying a lot of the interactions is like sexual tension and desire. um I really loved, like you mentioned before, the Maradona of it all. Not only like actually seeing them like watching the Hand of God game, and like
Hmm.
how they
Yeah,
how
the
they
goal of
all
the century
respond
as
to it.
well.
Yeah. But then like having that like play on it, where like his parents dying seems to be a real like just freak accident, and
Yeah.
him not being there seems to be this real just like lucky, or like but like chancing not encounter. I thought the scene where they speed to the hospital, and then Fabiato's freak out when he finds out his parents died is really, really gut wrenching and well done. I give Filippo Scotti a lot of credit. I thought he was really good. But yeah, then from there, when he's kind of with that friend, or the guy he knows from the game who's also like a smuggler or whatever, and
Yep.
kind of just like
Cigarette
going around.
smuggler.
Yeah, just kind of like feels like it's a bit listless for a while, and not as enjoyable to be around. But
Hmm.
overall, I think we both really like it. I think we'll be talking about this a bit more towards award season. Any other thoughts on it?
I like Tony Servillo as the dad. He's a pretty accomplished Italian actor. I thought I just I liked how Italian it felt, right? Like there's constant references to other Italian filmmakers of the time, Fellini, Zeffirelli, Capuano, who you see at the end of the film. Like they're all like present. Like it's supposed to like feel like real life in the 80s. I also felt like Naples. I'd been to Naples. I
Yeah,
was there for a day. Naples is a really, I think, feels like a real place. It's not a tourist hotbed. It just felt like a real place where real Italians live, and you get a little bit more of that in like My Brilliant Friend, the HBO series, same kind of thing, like coloring in like a real place. And yeah, I think the overall like the namesake of the film, tying Maradona with the Hand of God goal to the Hand of God saving his life, not dying from carbon monoxide. Like it's done in a really good way because of how the film sets up the Maradona of it all, which also makes sense because Maradona like completely like subsumed Naples when he goes there. It was like a complete like infatuation with him when he finally, or when he does that famous transfer. So yeah, I'd say like overall it's maybe a little like simple like basic plot, but it's not really a movie you're watching for the plot in the first place, right? It's kind of all the other stuff going on.
yeah, for sure. I want to shout out one scene that I thought was really well done, and that's when Fabiato goes to visit his aunt Patrizia in
Mm.
the
Yes.
hospital, and they're talking, and he's kind of confessing that he's had this like longing for her, or this like desire
Yes.
for her, and
The movie makes a point of showing how horny he is for his aunt.
yes. But then like when he says to her like, I always like when you told that story about the little monk, I always believed you. And just like the way that um Luisa Ranieri, who plays Patrizia, just like slowly like you can see how much that means to her to hear that and feel like someone's not calling her crazy or insane, or telling her that she's wrong or cheating, calling her a whore. It's just like such a tender human moment that I thought was really good. And then seeing the payoff of the little monk down the line, and when he's traveling by, I think he's by train to see his brother for the vacation, I thought was just like a nice touch to it all. So definitely some really great human moments. I think that's what Sorrentino does best, just kind of like create these moments that feel very real and authentic. So I think this is a movie that people should check out. It's on Netflix, so you have access to it.